Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into the real complexities of love and relationships.
It's definitely a journey, isn't it?
It really is. And our guide for this is a really fascinating conversation with love expert Stephen Speaks. It was on the Jay Shetty podcast. The video is called Love Expert on When a Man Truly Loves You, He Will Do This.
Yeah, some powerful stuff in there.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to really pull out the key insights. We want to get clearer on what love is, how connection, chemistry, compatibility,
Yeah.
how they're different.
And how to handle the challenges,
Yeah.
right? And maybe even know when it's time to walk away.
Exactly. So let's dive in. The first point, and this kind of threw me, isn't about whether they love you.
Right. It starts with you. Do you truly love them? It completely reframes it from the get-go. It's not just about being loved.
That's such a shift because we often think, well, what are the common ways we get that wrong? How do we mistake something else for loving them?
Oh, easily. We often think love is just, appreciating how someone makes us feel.
Like the attention they give you.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe they have some quality you really admire, or they just treat you well. And look, those things are nice. They're part of it, maybe.
But not the core.
Not the core of love itself, according to the expert, anyway.
Okay, so what is the core then? What's the expert's definition?
It boils down to kindness, compassion, patience, understanding, selflessness, these really foundational things.
That sounds broader than just romance, like universal love.
It is, in a way, but applying it to romance, that needs extra ingredients.
Such as,
Emotional readiness, big one. Both people need to be, well, ready. Have they dealt with their past stuff, healed?
so you can't really give that kind of love if you're still carrying a lot of baggage.
Pretty much. And it's also about giving, actively trying to meet the other person's needs, not
Yeah.
just focusing on your own. It's got to flow both ways.
Right, reciprocal. Now, they also talked about the speed of falling in love. There's a warning about going too fast.
Yeah, definitely. That initial rush, it's exciting, sure. But those core things, kindness, patience, understanding, they take time to build.
You can't rush that foundation.
Exactly. Nurturing takes time. It's a slower burn, that real deep love.
Okay, that makes sense. This leads perfectly into those three C's. Connection, chemistry, and compatibility. They get tangled up all the time. Let's untangle.
Well-
Connection first.
Connection, the expert describes it as almost spiritual, like your spirit recognizes theirs.
Whoa, like you've met before.
Kind of. It can feel instant, that click people talk about, a deeper knowing.
Okay, deeper knowing. Then what about chemistry? How's that different?
Chemistry is, well, it's the spark, the fizz, more physical attraction, that intense pull.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, often the fun stuff. But it's more, let's say, superficial in comparison, driven by like dopamine and cortisol. And here's the key. You can have chemistry with loads of people.
Right. It's not unique like connection might be.
Exactly.
So connection is deep, chemistry is the spark.
Yeah.
Where does compatibility fit into this puzzle?
Compatibility is the practical stuff. How do you actually work together in life? Do your lifestyles mesh, your values in action, not just on paper?
Like, can you actually build a life together? Can you adapt?
Precisely. Someone might look great on your list, but can you actually create harmony day to day? That's compatibility.
Okay, this is clarifying.
Yeah.
But how do you know? How can you tell if you're feeling that deep connection versus just, really strong chemistry that might fizzle out?
Good question. One big indicator is authenticity. With real connection, you feel safe being completely yourself, warts and all.
No need to perform.
Right. Whereas with just chemistry, sometimes you're putting forward your representative, the polished version.
Trying to impress.
Yeah. Another thing is flow. Connection usually feels easy, natural. The conversation just goes. Chemistry without connection might feel a bit forced sometimes, like you're working at it.
Okay. And you mentioned connection being about aligned paths.
Yes, often there's a sense that you're heading in the same direction purpose-wise. It's deeper than just liking the same movies or whatever.
That really draws a line. And
Yeah.
it highlights the danger, right? Getting hooked on just the chemistry.
Huge danger, because that intensity can make you afraid to ask the big questions.
Why have here?
You don't want to blow up the fantasy, as the expert put it. You avoid digging into compatibility or deeper values because the chemistry feels so good and you weary reality might spoil it.
That makes so much sense, which ties into this whole authenticity thing. The expert really hammers home how bad it is to not be yourself from the start.
Yeah.
Like, give us some examples.
Okay, sure. Like maybe you pretend you're way richer than you are, spending loads of money you don't have.
Trying to impress them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe you text them constantly, morning, noon, and night, even though you actually need quite a bit of space.
Setting a false expectation.
Totally unsustainable. You're creating a pattern you can't keep up, and eventually the real you has to surface.
And when that happens, problems.
Big problems. Because you've set these unrealistic expectations. Think about couples who spend literally every second together at the start. Then, when life naturally requires a bit more balance, maybe more time with friends or work.
It feels like a rejection, like something's wrong.
Exactly. Even though it's just a normal, healthy adjustment. But because the starting point was unrealistic, the shift feels like a loss or a sign of trouble.
So the message is, figure yourself out first, then show up as that person from day one.
That seems to be the core advice, yeah.
But what about change? The expert said people don't really change. That sounds a bit pessimistic.
It's nuanced. It's not that people can't grow or adapt their behavior. It's more that their fundamental core, their essence, their deep-seated values, that tends to stay pretty consistent.
So what does happen then? People mature, right?
Yes, they become more conscious of who they truly are. Maybe society or their upbringing didn't encourage them to explore that earlier, so it's less about changing into someone new and more about realizing and owning who they've been all along.
Right, becoming self-aware. Which brings us to self-discovery. How
Yeah.
vital is that?
Yeah.
And how do we even do it? Our upbringing plays a role, apparently.
Hugely. The expert mentioned how parents react to our feelings and interests. Like if a kid wants to be an actress, are they encouraged to explore that or shut down? That affects how much we trust our own inner voice later.
So early validation matters.
Hmm.
What else helps us discover ourselves?
Getting in tune spiritually is mentioned, whatever that means for the individual, and also taking a wilderness period.
Wilderness period, like camping?
Haha,
Yeah.
not necessarily. More like intentionally shutting off the noise. Social media, constant news, distractions, creating quiet space.
Solitude.
Exact. Solitude lets you hear yourself think, figure out what you actually believe, what you value, without everyone else's opinions filtering in.
Okay, so know thyself. Then bring that self to the relationship. Now, shifting gears a bit.
Mhm.
Are relationships supposed to be hard work? Or should they be easy if it's right? There's always debate about this.
Yeah, it's a big one. The expert's take is interesting. He says relationships with true connection and love often feel hard, especially initially.
Okay, why? If it's real love, shouldn't it be smooth sailing?
Not necessarily. The hardness often comes from our own stuff. Past hurts, traumas we haven't healed, fears about being vulnerable.
So it's not the connection that's hard, it's navigating our baggage within the connection.
Precisely. Letting your real vulnerable self emerge, even in a safe space, can feel difficult or scary at first. Plus, a lot of us just haven't been taught how to do relationships well.
Right, like the bad advice mentioned, the game and that whole pickup artist scene.
Yeah, that kind of manipulation, playing games, it just doesn't build trust or genuine intimacy. It might get you short-term results maybe, but not lasting love. It's the opposite of authentic connection.
So true love requires vulnerability, not gameplay. It's interesting, he also said, sometimes the hardest time getting together is for couples who are actually meant to be. How does that work?
It could be because they're both showing up authentically from the start, baggage and all. There's no hiding. So they have to navigate the tough stuff early on. But getting through that can build an incredibly strong foundation.
Okay, so hard isn't necessarily bad. It depends why it's hard.
Yeah.
But effort is still needed, right?
Oh, absolutely. Conscious effort, mindfulness, really listening to your partner. But the difference is with the right person, that effort feels worthwhile. It flows better. It's not a constant draining uphill battle.
Whereas a relationship that feels super easy all the time.
Might be a red flag, actually. It could mean you're coasting on chemistry, not really engaging on a deeper level, maybe avoiding the tough conversations.
That's a really crucial distinction. It makes you wonder about relationship education.
Yeah.
Or the lack thereof. The expert feels we're pretty unprepared.
Yeah, he makes a strong point. We spend years learning career skills, but how much time do we spend learning how to connect with people, handle conflict, build healthy bonds? Yet relationships impact our happiness so profoundly.
And so much advice comes from, well, dubious sources. People projecting their own pain.
Definitely. Advice from a place of hurt often focuses on self-protection, building walls, rather than on vulnerability and connection. It can be really counterproductive.
Like that example of bad advice.
Yeah.
telling men not to fall in love?
Right. His point wasn't that men shouldn't feel love, but that they need to learn how to handle the vulnerability of love in a healthy, masculine way. It's about emotional intelligence, not suppression.
Which connects to balancing masculine and feminine energies.
Exactly. It's not about being rigidly one or the other. It's about having a dominant energy, perhaps, but being flexible. Being able to tap into the other energy when needed, like bringing calm, feminine energy to a heated argument, even if you're typically more direct, masculine.
And clarifying that attraction to masculine energy isn't about liking jerks.
No, it's about confidence, decisiveness, presence, but ideally combined with kindness and respect. It's about mastering that balance. Skills like transparency, communication, not overthinking, understanding when maybe you're being too much of one energy.
Okay, now let's talk fear. Fear seems like a huge relationship killer, especially the fear of losing someone,
Oh, massive. That fear can make you lose yourself. You become needy, a people pleaser, a yes man, basically abandoning your own needs to keep the other person happy.
which is unattractive.
Ironically, yes, it often pushes the partner away. A healthier dynamic is when both people know, deep down, that they could walk away if things became truly unhealthy.
That sounds counterintuitive, but it makes sense. It means you're choosing to be there, not trapped by fear.
Exactly. It creates respect and a more equal footing.
What about criticism? Can that ever be healthy?
It should be, ideally. But the intent matters. Is it aimed at genuinely helping the relationship improve, delivered with kindness? Or is it just attacking, blaming, or trying to tear the other person down? Big difference.
That links to conflict. Disagreements happen. But how do we keep them from becoming toxic arguments?
Respect is key, focusing on the issue, not attacking the person. And recognizing energies helps if your partner is really heated. Maybe bringing that calming, receptive energy can de-escalate things instead of matching their fire.
So using compassion as a strength, not a weakness.
Yes. And realizing that bringing your absolute best self, your kindness, your effort to someone who isn't capable of meeting you there, that can really break you.
Feeling used or taken for granted.
Exactly, which can lead to unhealthy patterns, like the cycle the expert described for some women.
Right, the unhealthy love cycle. Can you break that down again?
It's like you're vulnerable, you get hurt. So next time, you pick someone safe, maybe less challenging, less intense, but they don't meet your deeper needs.
So you feel unfulfilled.
Right. And that can lead to dissatisfaction, maybe even looking outside the relationship, consciously or not, for that missing piece. It becomes a cycle.
And what about trying to fix a partner? Where does that impulse come from?
Often it's about control, maybe a subtle desire for leverage, or feeling like you're the prize and it's your job to mold them. But it's fundamentally disrespectful. People have to want to change for themselves.
You can't force it.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads us to knowing when to let go. This is so hard. What are the signs?
A huge one is unwillingness to work on things, especially if you've clearly communicated the issues, maybe even suggested therapy or specific changes, and there's just no real effort.
Just hoping they'll magically change?
Yeah, or nagging. Neither works. It's about seeing a consistent lack of effort or willingness to address the core problems. And sometimes letting go just means not right now. It doesn't have to be forever, but the current situation isn't working.
And clear communication is vital here. Maybe even writing a letter.
A letter can be really helpful, yeah. It lets you organize your thoughts, be clear, and avoid some of the emotional escalation of a face-to-face fight about ending things. It ensures they understand why. But if that clarity and subsequent efforts lead nowhere,
Then it's probably time.
probably time.
Okay, so the breakup happens. Moving on is, well, it's brutal sometimes. What's the focus then? Individual growth.
Absolutely. Focusing on your own healing and growth. Sometimes you have to grow apart to potentially grow back together healthier later, or maybe just grow into your own separate, better futures. But the growth has to be for you.
Not just to win the exes back.
Definitely not. That's usually not sustainable or authentic.
And the pain. The expert compared it to what? Drug withdrawal, physical pain.
Yeah, the brain chemistry is apparently quite similar. That intense craving, the obsession, constantly checking their socials. It's a real biological response to the loss. It helps to understand that it's not just emotional weakness.
Okay, so knowing it's intense, what are some healthy ways to actually get through it?
First, really reflect. Why were you in it? Why didn't it work? Be honest. See it, maybe, as painful as it is, as a chance to reassess.
A painful opportunity.
Sort of. And focus on healing everything, not just the breakup. Often the relationship failed because of older wounds we brought into it. Heal those too.
Deeper work.
Yeah. And get support, an accountability partner, friend, coach, therapist, someone to talk to, keep you grounded.
Don't go it alone.
Please don't. Also, try to reframe the pain. This hurt now might be protecting you from years more of mismatch or unhappiness. Express everything you need to express, maybe in a journal so you don't have regrets later. And, for some, faith or a spiritual connection provides huge comfort.
Finding peace amidst the storm. Lots of good practical advice there.
It's about being kind to yourself through a really tough process.
Definitely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, a final thought maybe for you listening.
Yeah, perhaps reflect on that balance in your own life. Connection, chemistry, compatibility. Are they working together? Is one overpowering the others? And maybe ask yourself, when you miss someone, are you missing them, the person? Or are you missing a feeling, an idea, or how they made you feel about yourself? It's a subtle but important distinction.